Over the past few years, our voting process has become more hybrid, with more people switching from the polling place to the mailbox. The shift is accelerating because of the pandemic, which means a number of changes for voters in Boston. To tell us what's planned locally is Boston's Election Commissioner Eneida Tavares. Thank you very much for being with us, Commissioner.
Thank you for having me.
Commissioner, I guess what also changes here is that we have a primary election day coming up on September 1st. That's the easy part. But what about the deadlines for registering or mail-in ballots? What should voters be thinking about?
So with the changes to the legislation, the new deadline for registering to vote is actually 10 days before the election as opposed to 20 days. So the new deadline falls on Saturday, August 22nd. So voters do need to be mindful of that date. Anyone who's eligible to register can register in person here in the election department. We will be here until 8 o'clock that Saturday. They can register online through the Secretary of State's website, or they can register through a transaction at the Registry of Motor Vehicles.
Of course, the other thing here is that there are different ways of voting. More people want to vote by mail. Some of them have already started the process for doing that because we got applications sent to us in the mail. But for people who are starting from square one and they haven't done this yet, what should they do next?
So voters in Massachusetts do now have an expanded option for voting. They can vote by mail. All vote by mail applications have been mailed to registered voters. It was received in a postcard format. They should sign and return that postcard indicating which ballot they'd like to receive in the mail, whether it's for the September primary, the November election, or both elections. They will return that postcard to us. The postage is already paid for the postcard, so you just have to drop it in a mailbox or drop it here at City Hall. And once we receive that, we will mail you a ballot with an envelope, a return envelope, and instructions for how you should complete your affidavit. The ballot comes with an outer envelope, which is your ballot affidavit, and it's very, very important that that envelope is signed when you're returning your ballot.
Now, I know there are a lot of voters who are less interested in city and state elections, so maybe the last time they voted was in 2016 or maybe even 2012. And maybe they didn't get the application because they've moved since the last time they voted. What should they be thinking about?
So we will take a request in writing as a form of an application. They can download applications from our website as well. Or if they don't have access to a computer, they can simply call our office and we will mail them an application. And voters should be mindful that there is a deadline for requesting a mail-in ballot for the September 1st primary, and that deadline is August 26th. So all requests have to be received by August 26th. And then when you're returning your ballots, your ballot has to arrive here at the election department no later than September 1st by the close of polls.
Well, you can still vote by showing up at a polling place, but I guess you have to tell viewers about some changes this year. Start with some of the locations and entrances. Those have been changed in a number of places, haven't they?
We have about 20 precincts that have been changed because there was construction going on at some of the sites, or due to some facilities having valid COVID concerns because they house an older population of individuals and they were no longer interested in hosting for this election. So we did have to move several polling locations. We did mail every single registered voter who was affected by the change a letter, and that information has been posted on our website as well. And we will continue to do outreach to just let the residents of those precincts know that the changes have been made.
Well, even if the voting in person is at the same location, there will be some changes, I imagine, some distancing, maybe some protective equipment you need to provide, right?
Definitely. So we are setting up our polling locations to allow for social distancing. There may be fewer voting booths at some locations. Before we had to comply with ADA guidelines, which required us to space the booths 36 inches apart. Now we are going to space them 6 feet apart where we can. We will limit the marking shelves to 2 voters at a time. to allow for social distancing. So you usually can station 4 voters at a booth. We're going to limit that to 2, space the booths as far as apart as possible in locations where we can. We'll set it up as close to the entrance as possible so that it can limit the path of travel that the voter has to travel within the precinct. We're going to have markers placed on the floor to cue voters as to where they should stand and remind them of social distancing. Voters are going to be encouraged to wear face masks and sanitize upon arrival, sanitize when they are leaving the precinct as well. All of our election officers will have PPE. They will have face shields, face masks, gloves, disinfectant wipes, disinfecting sprays, and we'll also have cleaning teams. So they'll be cleaning, wiping down surfaces, and then we'll have additional cleaning teams going out periodically to do a more thorough cleaning of high touch surfaces.
Yeah, I'm going to have you flesh this out a little bit, because in a normal year, I would go to a polling place, use a marker that would be touched by maybe hundreds of other people on election day, and I would think nothing of it. But now this year, you pick up that marker, you're going to worry for a moment. But are you convinced that the hand sanitizers will take care of that?
So we are going to distribute pens with every ballot. The pens are not going to be left on the marking shelves, and the voters are going to be instructed to deposit the pen at the checkout table, and another election officer will be responsible for disinfecting the pens before redistributing the pens. If a voter has a concern about our pens, they are welcome to bring in their own pens for marking.
Well, one thing I also remember about polling places is that a lot of the people who work at them on election day are a bit older. And I imagine some of those people might have reservations about doing it this year. So how are you prepared for that?
Our numbers are looking pretty good. We're a little over 1,500 poll workers at the moment. And again, our pool of applicants are growing. We're continuing to work with a couple of universities, colleges and universities to recruit students. We urge anyone who's interested in serving to please go onto our website and apply to become a poll worker. I know that we do, our numbers look okay for September. However, November is a different story. We don't know what the COVID numbers are going to look like, and that could affect us drastically. If numbers go up, I'm sure a lot of our election officers who will serve in September may not return for November.
By the way, one thing I imagine is going to be different this year is the city is going to have to process a lot more mail-in ballots. Is there anything you can say about how the city is geared up for that?
We have recruited additional help. We've even brought in a few of our poll workers. It has been busy. We're a little over, I think, 60,000 requests right now. We've been working diligently. Staff has been working overtime. We've actually taken over additional space here at City Hall to just help with social distancing and prepping some of those ballot envelopes for distribution.
And one thing we should remind our viewers, of course, we cannot endorse any candidates here, but I guess we can endorse the idea of showing up to vote because, or mailing in a vote, because there are some important races that are going to be more or less decided in September, right?
Yes, and I think that's what voters need to be aware of, is that I know that more people tend to be more interested in the presidential election, but there is a very important election coming up on September 1st, and the contests on the ballot are going to be your senator in Congress, your representative in Congress, governor's council, state senate, state representative, and your register of probate.